Intermittent fasting. So we're into week 4 of the month and talking about things related to nutrition, the food side of it. And over the course of these 5 days, I'm going to cover 5 different approaches that we might take to changing our eating. Now, none of them are fundamentally better or worse than anything else. It's about finding something that works for you, but understanding what needs to happen within that approach for it to work. Because there's an expression that methods are many, principles are few. Methods often change, principles never do. For the goal that you're after, we need to understand the principles that need to be occurring in your nutrition and then select our method accordingly. Not knowing why something works means that we can follow a method and it not work. And ultimately, if we're looking to lose weight, hopefully you know by now, whatever method we're looking to do needs to be underpinned by a calorie deficit. If we're doing it and there's no calorie deficit, we will not lose weight. Body fat is stored energy. We cannot release it without there being a deficit of energy elsewhere. We cannot gain extra body fat without that energy store coming from somewhere. If we're looking for general health, just more fresh stuff, more vitamins and minerals, less processed stuff. That's probably your easiest win. Intermittent fasting is an approach that's gained a lot of popularity over the last few years, and it's one that, from my experience, people often add almost extra benefits that the research doesn't back up being there. Because intermittent fasting works from a weight loss perspective when we're in a calorie deficit. It may make some degree of difference to hormonal balance, and that may have a knock-on effect to how easy we find it to be in a calorie deficit, how we feel, how likely we are to exercise, and many other things. But that doesn't mean the calorie deficit stopped occurring when weight loss was happening. The studies, again, show that time and time again. All intermittent fasting is having periods of not eating, a set predefined period where we don't eat, or maybe we just eat considerably less. So it might be that we decide to only eat between the hours of midday and 6 p.m. and we fast, aka don't eat, outside of that window. And from my experience, intermittent fasting works for most people because it stops that extra stuff happening. So if we're eating between 12 and 6, we're having lunch and tea. There's only so much we're going to have most days by doing that. It gets rid of all that extra stuff, the mid-morning cake, the bottle of wine and tub of Ben & Jerry's or tube of Pringles in front of the TV at night. Those things aren't inherently fattening. They would be just as fattening if you had them for breakfast, but we don't have a bottle of wine and a tube of Pringles for breakfast. We have them 9 o'clock at night on the sofa, having already had maintenance calories for the day. So if it works for you, amazing. If setting that rule of not eating at certain times means overall you consume less calories and maybe you also feel better, then awesome, go for it. If having that rule makes you feel that you failed because sometimes you can't do it, maybe not the right approach for you. Maybe just deciding you've got a cutoff, a kitchen's closed time. We don't eat after 7 o'clock. Not because there's anything magical happening after 7 o'clock, just because it stops us getting into a surplus. Maybe we don't have a certain meal. It used to be called skipping breakfast. Maybe we have certain days of the week where we eat considerably lower than others to help create that average elsewhere. None of those things create a magical occurrence in the body. They're all just ways of creating a calorie deficit. And if that method allows you to achieve that principle, go for it.